So I've been away back home in New Zealand for a month, and I decided to catch up on some Kiwi films whilst I was there, and one in particular I instantly wanted to talk about because The Deadlands is both a fantastic film and suffers heavily from a serious case of a personal pet peeve, that being Hollywood history. But before I tackle that, let's discuss what is actually good about this film, because there is a lot to love about it. First things first, it's a movie in Te Reo Maori, aimed at a more mainstream audience, which is quite an achievement. There isn't a single word of English in this, and that has to be commended, because I would imagine it would have been way easier to get this produced and in front of audiences if it had been in English. Following on from that, the acting throughout is really good. The interplay between the two main leads is a real heart of this film, and both of them give fantastic performances. James Rolleston of Boy fame, another film I watched while I was back home, is the lead, and he is again excellent in this as Hongi, the 15-year-old son of a tribal chief who survives the terrible massacre of his entire family by a rival tribe. As such, he must venture into the Deadlands to seek the help of a legend to avenge the massacre, a mythical land where a monster kills any who venture into it. The monster is none other than Lawrence McQuarrie, who gives a fantastic performance as the Ghost Warrior, a myth, a legend, who is actually a real-life man with a dark past that he has to atone for. There's one particularly powerful scene where McQuarrie perfectly embodies the duality of his character as this mythical monster of the Deadlands, who is in fact just a man who committed a terrible crime and has been punishing himself for it ever since, with Hongi giving him an opportunity to redeem himself and enter the afterlife. His performance has a real presence about it, and he basically steals every scene he's in. Not that the rest of the cast are bad either, because they aren't, they are also on top form. This film really could have just gotten some muscular gym rats and called it a day. I've seen hundreds of low budget films do similar, but instead they got great actors throughout who also looked the part. The other thing that will become instantly obvious from watching any of the footage I've cut into this video is the cinematography is stunning. I know filming in New Zealand is a bit of a cheat on that front, because point your camera at anything, and as long as it's not in Auckland, it probably already looks amazing. But even with that taken into account, I think this film does an above average job on that front. There are some really nice nighttime scenes that are lit in a naturalistic way with campfires lighting the actors, and that creates a lot of shadows and contrast that add an extra dimension to them. Then we get to the fight sequences, which are pretty brutal and visceral. I'm a big fan of people having their heads beaten in for my enjoyment, and the full effects of that being shown with blood spurting out everywhere. They also manage to straddle that fine line of making the camera cuts dynamic enough to make the fight seem fast-paced and exciting, whilst also letting the fight choreography speak for itself. A line that not many films manage to straddle quite so well. When you put it all together, it means the fight scenes and action scenes are at least shot competently and entertaining as. The story is a pretty simple one of redemption. You have two main characters who have to redeem themselves by physically beating their enemies, whilst at the same time metaphorically defeating their own inner demons. But what it is, it works perfectly fine. It isn't anything groundbreaking within this genre or anything, but it kept me entertained well enough. Which brings us to the Hollywood history on show here. By that I mean things that are included in historical films, because they are kind of exciting or shocking, and are presented as if they are real events, when they are either highly exaggerated, or just pure fiction, or a mixture of both. Braveheart is a perfect case study of this in action. Purports to be based on actual historical events, has what to a layperson would seem a solid historical narrative, and portrays actual people who existed, yet is pretty much pure fanfiction where almost everything shown is made up. This film at least never pretends to be based on historical events, but it does present things about Maori society that are kind of obviously inaccurate. The first of these is that everyone is a cannibal. Everyone. all of the time. Like 90% of the food consumed in this film is human flesh levels of cannibalism. Maoris definitely ate other Maoris, they didn't do it on a daily basis though. People weren't out there drinking their friend's blood because they hadn't had a drink for a few hours. I get why it was included because it adds shock value, but I think it was so pervasive it kind of distracted me from the actual story, as did the next aspect of Hollywood history on show, and that was the battles between the various groups. If you ask most foreigners what they know about New Zealand, after Lord of the Rings and Sheep, a lot of people are going to say the haka. So, of course, this film has everyone gurning all of the time. Now, it's my understanding that the haka was a ritual performed at certain times. Not every time you see someone. It's really probably not all that bad in this film, but again, it kind of distracted me from the narrative. Not as much as the final complaint I have, which is the fact that after doing their gurning, people fight one-on-one when they could fight 12-on-1. Again, I get it, the film wouldn't work if the people in the movie just used simple human logic and ganged up on our two protagonists. There's only really one scene where this is so egregious, it genuinely annoyed me, but it is seriously a 12-on-1 situation at one point, and I was thinking to myself, just bum rush him. Yeah, he might kill a few of you, but not all of you. There's no external or internal logical reason these guys wouldn't just do that either, because they aren't honourable. They're absolute scumbags who wouldn't think twice about just killing someone in an unfair fight. It's not a major problem, it's just something that is once again mildly distracting in what is otherwise an excellent film. One that if you have an interest in history, especially an area of history that is rarely, if ever, portrayed in film, then I highly recommend it to you. If you like this, then drop a like on the video, maybe even comment, and subscribe if you want to, because next week I'll be back with a retrospective review of something. I don't know what yet, but it will be something.